Okay, so we all love how powerful modern AI is, right? But have you ever stopped to think about who really controls your data when you use these tools? Well, today we're diving into a huge shift happening in the AI world. It's all about taking back that control and running these amazing models on your terms. So let's start with a big problem. This quote right here just nails it. The awesome convenience of cloud AI comes with a pretty big price tag, and that price is, you guessed it, our privacy. Every single time you ask a question or upload a document, you're just sending your data off to some remote server somewhere. And that, of course, leads to the million-dollar question. Can we actually get all the power of AI without just handing over our data? Is it even possible to have the best of both worlds? The answer you'll be happy to hear is yes, and we're about to find out exactly how. To really get this, we need to understand what the problem actually is. So let's pull back the curtain a little bit on what's going on behind the scenes with the AI tools so many of us use every single day. It really is this simple. Whether it's a piece of code you're working on, a new business strategy, or maybe even a personal email you want to summarize, that information leaves your computer and lands on a server that belongs to someone else. And right there, that creates a huge fundamental vulnerability. And look, this isn't just some what-if scenario. We've seen massive, real-world data breaches at some of the biggest companies on the planet. Now, while they weren't all about AI, they prove a really crucial point. If servers at companies with monster security budgets can get hit, so can the servers holding all of our AI prompts and data. Okay, so we've laid out the problem. But the good news? There's a powerful and, honestly, an increasingly popular solution. It's all about changing where the AI actually does its thinking. So, the concept is called on-premise AI, or local AI. The idea is, instead of sending your data out, you bring the AI model in. It runs directly on your computer or maybe a private server, and this is the most important part, it's completely cut off from the public internet. This is the perfect way to think about it. An air-gapped system is basically the digital version of a sealed bank vault. If there's literally no internet cable plugged into it, your data simply can't leak out. It is the ultimate form of data security. So, how's it actually done? Well, the process is surprisingly straightforward. First, you use a computer that is connected to the internet to download the AI models you want. Then, you package them all up, you move them over to your secure offline machine, and finally, you run them in a totally isolated environment. And the result? Your private data never, ever has to touch the public internet. Okay, so we've got the why and the what. Now let's get into the how. What are the key pieces of tech that make this whole local AI revolution possible? Well, there are two concepts that are absolutely crucial here. First up, you need an engine, and tools like Ollama have been a total game changer. They make it incredibly easy to download and run these super powerful open source models. I'm talking the same kind that power the big cloud services, but right on your own hardware. This is really the foundation that makes everything else possible. But what if you want the AI to understand your specific documents, your private info? That's where this thing called RAG comes in. Retrieval Augmented Generation is a really clever technique that lets the AI look at your local files, your PDFs, your Word docs, whatever, to give you smart answers, all without ever uploading them anywhere. This analogy just explains RAG perfectly. Think about it. You're not sending your entire private library to some stranger. Nope. Instead, you're giving the AI, which is already in your secure room, temporary permission to look at a very specific set of books to answer a very specific question. So here's how that whole process works, and it's all completely self-contained. First, your private documents get indexed into a local database. Then, when you ask a question, the system finds only the most relevant little pieces from your files. And finally, it feeds just that specific info to the local AI to create an answer for you. The entire loop happens right there on your machine. Nothing leaves. Now, this idea of local control isn't just for you and me. It's actually scaling up into a massive geopolitical trend that's literally reshaping entire industries and even national strategies. Welcome to the era of sovereign AI. Really, this is all about digital independence. We're talking about countries and huge organizations basically saying, hey, we need to own and operate our own AI infrastructure to protect our citizens, to follow our own laws, and to control our own digital future. So what does that actually look like in practice?
Well, it means data is legally required to physically stay within a country's borders. That's called data residency. It means training AI models on local data so they reflect local culture and nuances. And it means total compliance with regional laws, like GDPR over in Europe, with local teams having complete operational control.
And this isn't just some theory, it's happening right now, across some really critical sectors. Governments in the EU are building their own national AI clouds to protect their data. Hospitals are training diagnostic AI on private patient records to keep that data safe. And banks are keeping their fraud detection systems completely in-house to lock down financial data. Okay, at this point, I'm sure there's one big practical question on your mind. This all sounds fantastic, but what about the cost? Is this something only giant companies and governments can even think about affording?
And that really is the multi-billion-dollar question, isn't it? The old assumption was always that building your own stuff is just astronomically expensive compared to, just paying a monthly fee to a cloud company. But the math on that is starting to look very, very different.
Let's just compare the two models real quick. With cloud services, you're paying a subscription fee that never ends. It's predictable, sure, but those costs just keep adding up, and you can get locked into one provider. With on-premise AI, yeah, there's a big upfront cost for the hardware, but your long-term operating costs can end up being much, much lower. This chart shows that break-even point perfectly. See that blue line for the cloud costs? It just keeps going up and up and up. Now, the orange line for on-premise, it starts off way higher because you got to buy the hardware, but then it flattens out. Eventually, those lines cross. And from that point on, running your own system actually becomes the cheaper option. So this all brings us to one final, really critical question. As local AI gets easier and cheaper to run, we're all facing a choice. Is the future of AI going to be dominated by a handful of giant global clouds? Or are we going to see a shift towards a more spread out, private, and personal model of AI? The answer just might be sitting on your own hard drive. Thanks for joining us for this explainer.